definitely we got a lot of those micro moments, good and bad. I
Mhm.
think it's also important to recognize them in our own lives
Yeah.
and see what micro moments have impacted us in a positive way or a negative way, and then choose if we want to accept that.
The mindset that I started to believe, and because of everything that I was hearing from people that were believing the worst in me, I was going to cause destruction. I was going to mess up, screw some girl up. So I started to believe that I was a monster.
Life is truly all about those micro moments. One of my goals in life is to create positive micro moments for as many people as possible.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Valley of the Heroic podcast. Today, we have a guest that I am super excited about that I think you guys are going to get a lot of wisdom from, a lot of joy, hopefully some laughs as well, because this is a guy who was a leader of mine, somebody that I've looked up to most of my life, somebody who has been a tremendous example as a leader in church, as a man, as a father, in so many different ways that I feel like I have the privilege of being able to hear him today. So I feel like for you, even though you might not know him, it's a privilege for you as well. So just take that. And if you're thinking like, I don't even know if I want to listen today, you need to listen today because I know that this one is going to bless you. Alan, welcome to the podcast today, bro. I'm so glad to have you here.
Thank you so much. I'm excited, super excited to be here. So glad that we finally got to make this happen. I know we've been dancing around for a while back and forth on trying to get our schedules to meet up and match up. And I'm so glad that I could be here today. Thank you.
Yeah, bro, man. I'm really excited for this episode because like I was saying to them, you know, when I was a kid growing up in church, 15 years old, 16 years old, you were one of those people that we were looking up to. And you were just in your 30s, like late 20s, early 30s, right?
No, bro, I'm only like 2 years older than you. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you remember.
So I've been missing this detail my whole life, so this is news to me.
I'm 30 now. No, I'm 43 now. I just turned 43 like a week ago.
Yeah, and I'll be 37 in February.
Yeah. So
still pretty close. Yeah. But you know, you were ahead, and you were being an example. I just remember being able to see, especially when you and Naomi got married and you guys started having kids, and just like me and Joanna, we were joking around with you guys like that you need to have like a cohort for parenting and stuff like that. And it's like it's so funny because you never really know how somebody's looking at you as a person when you're leading, especially in ministry, because ministry can be so tough and so fast paced. But I just want to take a second, like really to honor you for, I know you're not perfect, you're not Jesus, but you did a great job, bro. Like, thank you.
I appreciate you saying that. And I believe that, you know, we're all leaders at some capacity. And whether you know it, whether you accept it or not, people are leading. You're leading first yourself, and you're leading people around you. And if that's just a younger sibling or just someone that's in you, but you're causing an influence, even when you're just people who you don't know. If you're just walking through a retail store and you smile more, that people have perceptions of them people, but you're influencing the community. So you're leading even in that, to say, smaller way, but you know, across the masses is a huge impact. So I think coming to that realization, the earlier you start realizing that, I think for everyone, I think the more important it is to say, hey, people that you don't know are watching, are in fact watching.
Yeah, so, literally.
I'm happy that you got to at least see some of the good side. Because like you know said, there's definitely have been a lot of peaks and valleys and just and mistakes made and mistakes learned from. So I'm just glad to have been on this journey and to have had, you know, God's influence in my life from an early age, which I'm just lucky, for lack of a better word, that's my reality, that I had that, you know, and I had a few mentors that were super impactful in my life and just didn't let me go when they could have.
Yeah, that's so real.
Yeah.
You know, one of the moments that really stands out to me in our personal relationship, you probably don't even remember this, because I could tell you this has happened to me so many times where somebody's like, Eric, I remember that one time you told me this. And I'm like,
Oh, yeah.
and it's not even like, I'm not even looking like that because I don't remember. I'm looking
Right.
like that because I said that. Like,
Yeah.
wow, no, that was
Yeah.
literally God, because that sounds way too wise for me.
Yeah.
But this one was more like personal and relatable. I just remember you pulling me aside one day because in my early years in church, we were definitely targeted a lot. Me and my crew, like we were young, ghetto,
Yeah.
wearing white tees down to our ankles. And so we weren't the prototypical church kids,
Right.
although we were there all the time.
Yeah.
And we were like sold out for the Lord.
100%.
And for some people, that was a little bit hard, right? Because they had, I guess, a certain perception of youth.
What it's supposed to look like.
Yeah, exactly. And we were not that, right? Like we still stayed ourselves, but we still were looking for God. And I remember you pulling me to the side one day and just encouraging me, like just being like, hey, listen, man, I went through a lot of what you're going through. Just keep going. God knows your heart. And you shared a little bit of your story. And I was just like, it's crazy, because going back to what you were just saying about how you never know what you do, how it can impact a person, even in the small things.
Yeah.
For you in that moment, you were probably just taking a small moment to just be like, hey, just keep going, bro. Like, keep going. And then you're like, I'm gonna go grab a pizza though, you know? But for me, it was so impactful because I'm thinking like every single time somebody in my church that is older than me talks to me, they're talking down to me.
Yeah.
They're judging me. They're, and not every single time, but you get what I mean.
Yeah.
They're looking at me like I'm crazy. They look at me like they don't want me here because we're too loud, we're too ghetto. And you're just like, hey, bro, keep going. God sees you.
Yeah.
And I was just like, that changed everything for me, bro.
Wow, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. That's a positive one. I guess I'll share a on the flip side, a shameful one that I'm kind of embarrassed to to share. And someone told me, like, and this was maybe like 10, 15 years after this happened, right? And someone said at church, it was a female, and they were singing behind me. And then apparently, and I don't even remember doing this, and I am seriously embarrassed about this, but apparently I turned around to this person and told them that they really shouldn't be singing that loud. So that was rough to listen to on me on the obviously it was rough for that person to listen to. It was rough for me to listen to it years later that I said that. And maybe I said it half joking, you know, I don't know, maybe it was like the Bronx in me, just kind of like funny, like hard humor. It's not funny. It was not wise thing to say. And obviously that person remembered that.
Yeah.
Right. And I had that impact on them. And I felt so guilty about that, you know, and I still feel bad about that. Obviously, I apologize, you know, and I still to this day don't remember that moment, but they do.
Yeah.
And I think life is truly all about those micro moments.
Wow.
And I think now, knowing that and understanding that, it's like one of my goals in life is to create positive micro moments for as many people as possible. Wow. So I just absolutely find so much joy in doing it. I'll give you another example. I was just visiting a school in Arizona like 2-3 days ago. And I was just watching the school. I wanted to observe how they ran classes. And I see this one child. He's like kind of in the back of class. You could tell he's one of the newer students. It kind of feels a little bit like left out. Still kind of finding his place. And he's going and hitting the bags. And one of the most powerful things you can do when you're speaking to someone or encouraging someone, more than even telling them an encouraging word, is telling someone else an encouraging word about them that they overhear. And I'll give you an example of a very negative one later on that happened in my life as a child, where I overheard someone saying something about me to someone else. And it would have been far less hurtful if they would have said that directly to me.
Wow.
But because I overheard it, it felt more real. So what I did is I turned to my daughter who was next to me, but I said it purposely loud enough that the kid can hear me. And I was like, wow, look how strong that kid's kicking. He's so strong. You see him and he's keeping his hands up. He's good. And then you see him peeking from like the corner of his eye. And he's amped now. He starts kicking even harder. He's just, and I'm nobody there. They don't know me. I was literally just visiting. So first time, at that location. And then you see him run to the back of the line and he was super happy and he turns over, he looks at his mom. I didn't see his mom, and my daughter noticed. She's like, oh, his mom was smiling, too, because I guess she overheard it. So she's over here, even though I didn't notice that, I didn't say it for her, right? She overheard me
The domino
talking
effect.
about her child in a positive way to someone else, where a lot of parents, sometimes we may hear someone talking about our child in a negative way. Oh, whose parent is that? Whose kid is that? Doing something. But for her to hear, and again, this kid had a lot of energy and stuff like that. So I can imagine, and this could just be a story that I'm saying, that in other circles, that same kid is getting in trouble or spoken negative to about, say, hey, that kid's too hyper. He's not listening. He's not, following instructions. He's getting so much of that. And probably not only he's getting it, but his mom's getting it. And that's discouraging for his mom. Creating just that micro moment of just saying, man, that kid's so strong. Hyped him up, hyped his mom up. And that could be, we don't know, something that he remembers 10, 15, 20 years from now. And I was like, oh, yeah, I'm strong. I remember, there was this guy, weird bearded guy, hanging out in class. And he was like, I was strong. And now that changes his whole mindset to believing I'm strong. Where in the past, my negative story, right? Like I may have said something about someone singing that may have told that person, hey, you can't sing. And maybe they could have been a good singer, but I've already planted an identity in them that, hey, you're not a good singer. Like you shouldn't even be trying. And that has that ripple effect, right? So super guilty about that. I try to create that the other way around as much as possible. And I think the strongest force in the human psyche, I believe, is being consistent with your own identity. Whatever it is that you identify as, whether or you can move away from that. That's why people sometimes find it so hard to change habits, because they identify a certain way. So if you identify as a person who is a gym rat, I go to the gym all the time, right? You identify, even if you stop going to the gym and you did it, you're going to fall back to being that because that's true in your identity, right?
Right.
So when you shift their identity, you say, hey, you're a smart person. Hey, you're a strong person. Hey, you're a leader. Wow. They create that identity. They're always going to go back to that. So if I can shift the dial a little bit in someone with just a micro moment, I think that's incredibly powerful. So glad that, that was able to encourage you in the past, but definitely we got a lot of those micro moments, good and bad. I think it's also important to recognize them in our own lives and see what micro moments have impacted us in a positive way or a negative way, and then choose if we want to accept that.
Yeah.
And I don't think we do that, right? Like we just, I don't know why I always thought I was bad at math, right? Maybe it was like this teacher told me like, math is just not your subject, right? Could be something simple as that. And I held on to that. I made that part of my identity. But now I can reevaluate that and go, wait, is that true? Or is that just something someone said? And can I rewrite that part of the story? And sure enough, you can. You're just accepting those things. Most of the things we believe about ourselves that are part of our identity just happened before, when we were in an elementary age, 7, 8, 9 years old, that things that were said to us that for whatever reason we believed, and we chose to just imprint that on our identity and we kept it. And it's not necessarily true. Or is that true as you want to keep it to be true?
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. Actually, you make me think about a specific moment I had in therapy that was extremely powerful for me, like literally life-changing. And it ties back to the whole identity thing and what you accept about yourself and because the thing about it is that what we accept about ourselves, the words that we use to describe ourselves to ourselves, whether it comes from another person or it came from some type of experience that we had or just something that we believe, it has so much power over our daily decisions, over the way that we look at ourselves, over the changes that we do or don't make. And we don't even realize it, right? And it could come from, again, like us overhearing a person, right? And I had this big one. that was tied to a lot of the experiences that I had.
Mm.
Growing up, in school, in church, pretty much everywhere, especially once I hit like 13 years old. For some reason, I had a growth spurt, so I got way taller, lost a bunch of weight because of it, right? And all of a sudden, my life changes, right? I'm all of a sudden not the short, chunky kid. All of a sudden, all these girls are giving me attention. I'm not even used to that,
Right.
but because all of this is happening, people had a certain perception of who I actually was, right? Because just because I guess I was, for lack of a better way of saying it, Alan, I was attractive, right?
Yeah.
You know, and so this all happens really, really fast. And all of a sudden, I'm being labeled as all of these different things, right? The church ones, you heard a lot of them, you knew them.
Yeah.
But one that I always point to was actually one that I heard at school, and I think is really pertinent to this conversation because of what you just said. One day I'm walking in the hallways, and I'm about to go up the stairs, and the stairwell in my old school had this. It had the stairs, but it also had this open area that was like open between all 3 floors.
Okay.
So if you were like on the 3rd floor, you could look down, and if somebody was on the 1st floor, they could peek out and you could see each other.
Right.
Right. So if somebody's talking on the 3rd floor, you can hear them. So I'm going up the stairs on the 1st floor, and I hear 2 teachers. And as I'm walking up the stairs, going up 1st floor, 2nd floor, I hear my name and I stop. Man, this was very hurtful for me for a very long time.
Wow.
And I hear the teachers, they're not any teachers that I have. They must have been from a younger grade. I was in 8th grade at the time. And they're just like talking about me, and they're making fun of me, and they're saying that I'm not going to go anywhere, that I'm going to get a girl pregnant before the end of high school. All of this stuff that I'm just like,
Yep.
and I'm a 12, what are you in 8th grade? Like 13, right?
Yeah.
I'm 13 years old. I'm thinking, is this true?
Right.
I'm going through changes and shifts in my identity. I don't even really know who I am yet. On top of that, all of this attention that I'm not used to is coming out of nowhere. Very introverted, very like reserved, because I went through a lot of bullying before that, because I was the short, chunky kid, right? So now I'm like really confused at all these shifts. And then this is what I hear from people
Wow.
who are supposed to be nurturing me. Maybe they're not my teachers directly, but they should look at children in the school and see the best in them.
Right.
And the fact that they don't know me should make it even less so that they would make such a judgment.
Right.
Bro, I carried that with me for so many years, even into my adulthood.
Yeah.
But I didn't carry it. I'm not 26 years old thinking, oh man, before I'm done with high school, I'm gonna get some girl pregnant.
Right.
That's not how it was. The mindset that I started to believe because of that, and because of everything that I was hearing from people that were believing the worst in me. That was kind of like the general thing, that I was going to cause destruction. I was going to mess up. I was going to screw some girl up, or I was going to mess up this thing that I was a part of.
Right.
So I started to believe that I was a monster.
Yeah.
And I would frequently tell myself, you can't do good because you're a monster. You can't overcome this sin because you're a monster.
Yeah.
You're not going to be a good husband because you're a monster. So one day I'm in therapy. We're in couples therapy.
Yeah.
Marriage couples therapy. Me and Joanna. And I don't remember the context of the conversation, but our therapist got us to this really deep point where all these walls start coming up for me. And I say, and he's like, what's going through your mind right now? And I'm looking at him, Joanna's looking at me, and I say to him something along the lines of, well, this all makes sense because the reality is that I'm a monster.
Yeah.
And then he's like, where did that come from?
Right.
And he asked Joanna, is this something that he says? And she's like, yeah, he always says that.
Mm.
Especially like if we had a bad argument,
Right.
sometimes I would get really ugly actually, which I'm not proud of. I'd be like, if I got really cynical and mean even, like I would almost assume that identity, and I would tell her like, well, what do you expect? I'm a monster. And especially when I was depressed, it was really bad. And so he works us through that, and he has this moment where he tells me to turn to her.
Right.
Tell me why I got messed up.
Oh, man.
And she's looking at me, bro.
Yeah.
She's looking at me with this look of love.
Yeah.
And he says to me, does it look like she's looking at a monster? Wow. Shattered the whole thing completely. Just changed a fundamental piece that I believed about myself for so many years, that was choosing for me how I would live, how I would act, especially when I was in pain.
Yeah.
And it's crazy that you said what you said, because I just wanted to share that with you and with everybody listening, because we don't realize just how powerful the words that we say of other people, those teachers probably will never know that that was a piece of why I believed that about myself.
Right. That affected you for so long.
So long.
And I think it's important to offer some grace to those teachers, because they didn't know. Yeah. They, had no way of knowing that you were 2 stories down or whatever, and can overhear what they were saying. They were obviously not trying to be mean to you. Yeah. They were just talking with another teacher on something that they felt, and who knows, what they believed about themselves, and there's a million other things.
There's so much,
and that's why I preface, I state that when I say, okay, I've been able to have this positive impact, but I'm also aware of times that I've had a negative impact on people. Things that I don't remember. Like, I'm sure if you probably spoke to those teachers right now and you told them, they'd be like, what? No, maybe you heard somebody. I never remember saying that. Like, why would I say? Like, they probably don't even remember. It was a casual conversation as they were going up a stairs. I don't remember that. We all have moments like that. And I think for that reason, I think it's important, because that's the other part of it, right? Because there's that identity that we take, and there's also the grudge that we're able to have. And I think it's important to offer grace and be able to let that go for certain people, that they said what they said for whatever reason, and not to hold on to that. Really, and that just ends up being part of our story. And, eventually people are going to say things that are positive. People are going to say things that are not positive. It's a matter of what we do with them. And in fact, sometimes when they say things that are not positive about us, sometimes it can have a very positive effect on us. So when I was, I must have been maybe 7, 8 years old. And our preface was saying I was a terrible child.
Like terrible in what way?
I always getting in trouble, always fighting, never did my homework. Was terrible, like student, just always distracted. So
don't you love how those kids are always the ones that become great entrepreneurs?
They're reframing a lot of those things is a very powerful thing that we do a lot with parents. Constantly trying to bring that out of parents. I see, and now like the more you start thinking about those things, the more you see it with parents, and it's almost like a pet peeve of mine now, because I see parents all the time. Oh, it's like I don't know, 3-year-old, and they're like, oh, it's just, my kid is shy, and they're like, stop telling them that you're telling them that they're shy, or from this young age. Maybe it's that they're smart and they are kind of weary of approaching this like big bald-headed bearded guy, right? And it's like they're like, say hi, to Alan, and the kid's like, hiding behind like mom, and they're like, oh, so sorry, and it's like, it's really because the mom maybe feels bad that they're not being like polite, as if a 3-year-old should, right? And then they feel bad, so they're trying to, it's just that they're shy, and feel like that's a justification, but they're really like passing that on from such an early age. They're shy. So they're gonna grow up. What are they gonna believe? That they're shy, right? And I'm like, nah, they're not shy. They're smart. You think, first of all, if I'm like 2 feet tall, I'm standing in front of someone that's
way taller
almost
than
6
me,
feet, right? Weird guy. I don't know this guy. Yeah, I think it's actually pretty smart to go behind the comfort and the shelter, the protection of my parent.
Yeah,
that's actually pretty smart.
Yeah.
it would be unwise of that child to go up to the stranger and be like, "Hey, what's up?" Right? Like, and something bad can happen. That's what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
They're supposed, and parents can go both ways, right? Because a kid who's not shy, right, who's not going behind and is going out and talking to everybody, they're like, oh, they never listen. I'm always telling them to come back, and they never. So you can always frame it in a negative way. So reframing that, I think, is super important. So for parents, they're not shy. They're really smart. They're trying to analyze the situation first, learn what's going on before they can step into whatever situation. That's great. And the parents are like, oh, okay. I guess that's good. Or if they're like going around and they're not listening and they're like, I'm like, oh, wow, you have a leader, a child that's going to, be strong-willed and that maybe is not going to fall easily into peer pressure when they're a teenager. Because you know what? They do what they want to do and they don't just follow what anybody else is telling them. Mm-hmm. So you have someone that maybe when they're kids, they have friends that are telling them to do drugs. They're going to be like, nah, I don't do that. That's stupid. Right? Yeah. And the parents are like, oh, I didn't think about it that way. It's like, yeah, you have a strong-willed child. That's great. Now you have to nurture it in the right way.
Exactly.
But stop putting a negative label on it. Right? Because then you're framing it that way when you can frame everything that the child does in a negative or positive way.
Yeah.
What's good and what's bad is always available. Both are always, same exact situation, both are always available. It's just a matter, are you going to frame it in a positive way or frame it in a negative way? So that's something that we work on a lot with parents. But anyway, I had this experience when I was young. I woke up early in the morning. Probably wasn't that early, whatever. It was early for me. I wake up, everybody's asleep. And I hear one of my parents, and also say my parents are amazing, amazing parents, super loving, gave us, definitely the best home that they could growing up, not without their faults, but definitely amazing, very, very loving parents. Anyway, I hear one of my parents talking with a friend as they're drinking coffee early in the morning. And I just kind of hear it's quiet. And they're talking about how Alan is never going to amount to anything.
Oh, man.
And how I'm just going to be a deadbeat. And they reference like other people that we knew within like, the family or people that we knew like neighbors. I'm like, oh, he's going to be just like so-and-so. Yeah. So, and I'm keeping purposely names out of it, not to offend anybody.
Yeah, of course.
We didn't need more people being offended. I was already offended. So, but saying, hey, he's just going to be like fulanito, right? He's just going to be like, this person, that person, and he's never going to be amount to anything. And that held me for so long because it wasn't, if they would have just told me, you're a bad student, you're not listening, okay, more of the same, I kind of get in trouble all the time for not like doing things. Right. But the fact that they were saying this to someone else, I knew that then that's what they truly believed.
Yeah.
Which then made it more real for me. Mm-hmm. Now, I took that, thankfully, I think more as a challenge than as an identity of more, I'm going to prove them wrong.
Right.
And I started working a lot harder on myself because of that. So I was able to use that in a positive way. So I was to say, even when you offer like that grace to someone who said that, you could take that, even you could have taken like what those teachers said and said, you know what? Screw this. I'm not going to be that person and go 100% the other way.
Yeah.
Or you could take that into identity. And that's not your fault why you did one or the other. You're just a kid like I was a kid. There are going to be some things for whatever reason that we're going to actually take as a toward to value or an away from value. So I was able to reject that and go really hard. Now, that's not to say that didn't severely hurt me.
Yeah.
It did. And I held on to that for probably 15, 20 years after that until I got to, really let that out and go back and get free from that. Because that will also, although I use it in a positive way, it's not a positive fuel for what I was using to accomplish those things. It was out of that like negative energy, right? That I was kind of propelling myself forward, which wasn't going to get me to the next level. It did help me get to one level. And that's another thing that I've often learned, that we get tools, we learn things in life that help us be very successful or help us get to a certain stage. And it's really important to understand that those are not necessarily the same tools that will get us to the next chapter in our lives. So, and
you got to break that down a little bit more because that's really good.
So I had one of my business coaches paid probably like $50,000, have this meeting with this person, and one of the things he was talking about, we were talking about trust, and growing up in a rough neighborhood in the Bronx, trust is something that had to be earned.
Yeah.
And I was extremely loyal to the people I was loyal with, but the trust had to be really, really earned. And that helped me because, let's be honest, it keeps you safe in the streets,
Yeah,
you know?
it does.
Somebody's going to come rob you or hurt you or do something to you. You need to know who you can rely on, who you can't, who you can give your back, who you can't, and looking over your shoulder. You need to live this way to just remain safe in that environment. So those tools help me be successful there. And those tools, like rejecting and hating the fact that they said I would be this person, and rolling off of that fire, that fuel of hatred to propel me forward, help me get out of where I was and get advanced. Fast forward when I'm starting businesses and running multiple businesses, and I'm hiring someone, but I don't trust that person.
Wow.
Because they haven't earned the trust yet. So I'm like, well, I don't trust this person to do this, and I don't trust that person to do that. I'm watching this, and I'm watching them over my shoulder. It held me back so much in my life and in my business because I'm like, I can't trust these people. So I wasn't able to properly delegate and properly scale. So once this coach told me, he said, why don't you consider that worked really well for you? Because don't say it was a bad tool. It worked really well for you then. Let's put that aside. Let's put that on the shelf for now and just try picking up a different tool. And we're going to pick up a tool where we're going to trust everybody right off the bat and wait to see if then they lose that trust. And I think that's a powerful position to be in, because I think the more confident you are in yourself, a lot of people will be like, no way, I'm not going to get hurt. Well, that's in a very weak position, right? Because I feel that this person can hurt me so much. But if I feel strong, I was like, you know what? They may break my confidence, but that'll be okay. Yeah. I'll be fine. That's a much stronger position to be in. So I started practicing that and really trusting people until they, if they break that trust, okay, then that didn't work out. We'll move on to the next person. But that's what helped us grow to now having multiple businesses and multiple people that we trust and we're able to work with. So that new tool helped me get there. So I'm always constantly looking to see what previous tool now has helped me get to even this next stage. What don't I need to use anymore? And what new tool do I possibly need to pick up? Do I need to learn? Because the same tool I'm using is probably not the one that, Jeff Bezos is using, to run his, right? He probably has other sets of tools that's taken him higher.
Right.
So I have to be open to that and change my way. So I say this to say, if you have something that you're holding on to and you said, no, because this is the way I've always been. I've never trusted anybody, or I always do this. I've always done that. And I can validate that. Yes, that could be absolutely true. You have held those things and they have helped you. But consider that for the next chapter, for a higher stage in your life, that may not be the same tool you need. It may not be the same hammer. Maybe we need to switch now to, screwdriver for this other task. The hammer was able to help you really good here, but this is a different task, requires a different tool, and it's going to require you to redefine how you're seeing yourself and how you're defining, I always do this.
Hey, what is going on? Listen, really quick, I just wanted to interrupt this episode to give you a quick message about our Patreon page. Patreon is a platform that allows creators like me to be able to make exclusive content for people like you, and in turn for you to help support our ministry efforts and our creative efforts in trying to advance the gospel to everyone that might be going through a painful situation, so that they can believe that their valley has purpose and they can roar on their mountaintop. Would you consider joining our Patreon today, becoming a member, and supporting us in that goal so that we can reach more people for God's kingdom and bless more lives? More information down below in the description. Let's go back to the episode right now. See you guys later.
That's something that I really have learned that has helped me move on. And I've spoken with people that I've seen that same thing, especially that kind of mindset of growing up in people who grew up in rough neighborhoods, right? You have certain things that you had to do in order to get out. And those things maybe just don't serve you at a certain point. No
Yeah.
one's trying to, rob me in my business, right? They don't try the things, and sometimes they do.
Yeah.
Funny story,
It is
actually,
possible. It's just not as common.
yeah, and I have had that happen too.
Yeah.
That being said, I have trusted people that have stolen thousands of dollars from me. That happened, and I'm okay. And I'm still actually better for having trusted people and having been able to scale a lot more, that it was well worth the people that stole from me, right? That if I would have not trusted, that person may have not stolen $5,000 from me, $10,000 from me. But because I would have protected that, they would know they didn't steal $10,000 from me. Maybe I left on the table $1 million that I could have made over here because I didn't grow my business. So which one was actually better?
Yeah. The upside date. And you know what's so interesting about that is that a lot of times we don't really take into consideration the upside that we lose out on, because we're not even thinking about that. We're just thinking about, I got to protect myself. I got to protect myself from this person, that person. I can't just trust so easily. And it's like, we're really in survival mode.
Yeah.
And it's something that we really share. Growing up in rough neighborhoods, you're in survival mode for a lot of your life. And if you can't shift out of that survival mode,
right,
it's really going to mess you up in the long term. If you're trying to start a business, a family, a marriage, whatever, if you're constantly in survival mode, you're just going to be, like, how can you, like, let's take marriage, for example. Marriage is very like frontal. You're face to face. That person becomes a mirror to you, right? How can you really look at that person as the mirror that they are and love that person, look into their eyes, if you're constantly looking over your shoulder? No. You're always in survival.
Right.
You're always thinking, who's out here trying to get me?
Right.
The person in front of me, I can't trust them, and I can't trust anybody over here.
Yeah.
And it really messes you up. It goes back to, again, right back to what we were talking about and have been talking about the thoughts that we have, how powerful they are, the things we believe about ourselves, the things we believe about other people. And, I think that what really stands out to me about this is the fact that this is people's reality. Not everybody's able to get past it. Yeah. Not everybody's able to get out of survival mode. Not everybody's able to take that first tool of taking something negative somebody said and turning it into a positive. They just stay there and they live that out. Or some people do that step, but they never let go of it and heal, right? And become a better person instead. And I just love the fact that not only are you sharing these insights and reframing of the mindset, but it's like you literally lived it. Yeah. You literally lived it. You literally had to make these changes, had to make these shifts, because if not, you'd be in a completely different place.
100%.
Which, actually, let's go down that road a little bit. Like, I wonder, what do you think was the road? Because something that I always preach is intentionality.
Yes.
Right. All of us, well, not all of us, but most of us grow in some ways naturally, right? If you're living life, for example, as a parent, 9 times out of 10, you're going to do a little bit better than your dad did, right?
Yeah.
You may not do exponentially better than they did, but you're just going to naturally do better, right? I've seen people even who, if you looked at a textbook definition, they would be quote unquote bad parents.
Right.
But then if you find out, you talk to them about who their parents were,
right,
you're like, oh wow, you did do better.
Right.
It's still bad, but it's better. Right. You've seen that.
Yeah,
before, right? It happens naturally.
Yeah.
But if you really want to have like a strong upside, a strong shift, you want to do exponentially better, you have to be intentional. You have to make a decision. And I think that stands out to me about you, that you made decisions to be better.
Yeah.
But for you, this is where I'm bringing it towards. What do you think was the natural direction, the course of your life that would have happened if you didn't make those decisions?
I would have nothing from my family, my wife, my kids, my career. And I don't say this like lightly, like just as like, oh yeah, probably. I'm very, very certain, like I would say probably 90, 95% certain I would have wound up in jail.
Wow.
It's what I had a lot of plans when I was 13 years old to pursue a career in crime,
Mm.
right? So, funny enough, I was kind of like always a geek. So, I had even I was in between that geek and kind of like hood kind of
The
sense.
hood
So
has geeks too.
we had literally been planning with people about how to steal, like order, like steal credit cards, and everything was a lot easier also back when I was like younger, because like the internet was so new.
Yeah.
So to do internet theft and like steal packages and how you can order stuff off and literally developing plans around like doing this kind of things and other things. And I remember having those conversations and plotting those things when I was literally like 12, 13 years old, crazy age. So if that was the mindset that I had at that early age, if that just continued to go forward, I can't imagine what kind of dumb things I would have gotten myself
Yeah.
into. But for positive mentors in my life. And that's really what it came down to. I can't take credit for changing my life, although there has to be a certain willingness
Yeah.
to do that. But I think God coming into my life, they say like we don't choose God, God chooses us, right? So I
Yeah.
really feel like I wasn't necessarily looking for God. God came out and stretched his hand out and just took me out, and then placed some other godlike people in my life. One person that I remember, I don't know if you were around for Allison.
Yeah.
So
I was in Allison's last class
okay,
before she moved.
yes. So Allison was a huge impact. She was the youth leader at that time. Now she's a pastor in Dominican Republic, but she huge impact in my life, and believed in me, I think, more than anyone I had ever seen believe in me. Like that seemed genuine. Like she really, like she was convinced. Like you can see her conviction, like, no, you're like awesome and you could do this and you could do that, and just like pour some. And because of that, her faith in me made me want to kind of step up and be a better person. And if it wasn't for Allison, I would be a completely different person today. So, and the way God used her in my life, super powerful. So yeah, she wasn't the only one, but definitely one of like the first ones and most pivotal ones. There was another person that was a like social worker in my high school who also happened to be a pastor,
Wow.
Santos Rivera, and I would cut class and then go hang out in his office and talk to him, which is really weird. I don't think he ever brought that up, but like he kind of low key knew
Yeah.
that was, but he knew the impact that he was having in my life through the hours of conversation that I would have with this pastor, and just him pouring into me was so much more valuable than that French class that I skipped.
Yeah.
So, the impact, the power, the importance of mentors is everything.
Yeah.
Is truly everything. Someone that can pour into your life, and that's why I guess I'm so passionate about trying to do that for other people. And I do think, you said before, it's something that you do need to decide, that you need to be intentional about. I always think it can be very frustrating as a coach, as a mentor, when you're talking to people and some people like aren't able to make this shift. I always remember the Jay-Z quote. I'm always that he says, "I'm trying to teach them how to be kings, but all they ever want to be is soldiers." Right? And I have felt that so much, where people, I'm like, I believe in them, and I genuinely, as a mentor, believe in them so much. And I'm like, man, you could be up here, you could be this king, this queen, you could be rocking it out, you could be, oh my, I could taste the success for them, right?
Yeah.
And they're just like, no, and they just stay here with the same mentality and the same thing. They just stay stuck there, and it's just like, and sometimes I just have to have accepted the fact that they don't want that, right? That
That's the part where you were saying earlier where you still have to choose.
you still have to choose. At the end of the day, you still have to make that choice, and that can be incredibly frustrating. As now, on the flip side, as a mentor, as a coach, so my mission is just to have as much of a positive impact in every single life, have magnify like those micro moments, right, and have a positive impact as much as possible. And listen, hopefully it pays out. Hopefully it doesn't. I'm spreading those seeds, and that's all I can do. The rest is in God's hand, and if He pulls them out, and them making the choice to be intentional about growth in their life and setting themselves on a different trajectory. But it's hard because we have identities that are rooted, deeply rooted, about who we are, what we believe we are. That unless we let that go, I always think about, like, I love reading biographies, and Elon Musk, I read like 3 of his biographies recently, and it's so interesting to see. Like, he had a very rough childhood. Wasn't like dead broke, but they weren't really well off, and had a pretty abusive childhood. Ended up coming, I think, a little bit prior to 18, moving by himself to Canada. Literally had nothing, couple bucks in his pocket. His family that he thought lived there ended up not living there. And he literally was like practically homeless. Ended up finding like some distant family that he can stay with, and working in some like mines or something. They're doing crazy,
Insane.
really low level hard work that nobody wanted to do for, pennies on the dollar. And the way he was able to make a series of choices that led him to be where he is today always impresses me. Like, I always think about, if you can, we don't know, right? Like, I don't know, maybe right now, if I walked out of this room and there's somebody who's waiting outside, and I spark a conversation, and I say the right things, and an opportunity comes up, and then all of a sudden we're part of like a multi-billion-dollar company. Like, you have no idea how like
crazy
life can end up, right? It's like, it can happen that easy, or it can not happen. You can have passed over 1 million of those. So I always think, like, how do people think differently that have been successful, that have had a happy family, that have, with their wife happy at home, raising their children? What kind of decisions, micro decisions, did they make that put them on that path? And trying to think about that and thinking, we're all just humans. I don't know. It's like a simple brain body. Like, what could be so different between one person having a successful, happy family and one person not, right? What could be so but a few mindset shifts that we're probably believing about ourselves. If, hey, I don't trust anybody, so, I'm having this conflict with my spouse because of that, or the way I'm treating my kids. And if we literally just uprooted some of those beliefs and say, hey, I want to, instead of getting those beliefs that were just put into me without me having decided, because I didn't decide for my parents to say what they said about me, right? You didn't decide for those teachers to say what they said about you. That was just put in there. But what if right now you're able to take a step back and go, you know what? I'm going to take this out, and let me look in this gallery of ideas, of identities that people have, and say, which one would serve me the best? Like, literally look at it like that. Like, it's just a shopping cart, right? Like, which idea about myself would be really cool to believe? I have a lot of trouble remembering things. You know what? Let me uproot that one. Let me see. Oh, I have a really innate ability I can remember things really easily. I want to believe that about myself. I'm just going to take that and plug that in. And obviously, I'm putting it in a lot more simple terms, but doing the work to take that and plug that into my identity. And all of a sudden, I believe about myself that I can recall and remember things very easily, quickly. That's what I believe about myself. Whether I'm right. How many times have we met people that think they're funny and they're not funny? Right? It's like, this guy really thinks he's funny, right? And he's not, but they have that identity, right? So right or wrong,
and they're happy about it.
They're happy about it. They're like
so
the funniest,
happy.
and they're cracking up, right? So they believe that. They believe it. So you can adopt the belief even if you're not there yet, right?
Yeah.
But the fact is, if you take on that identity, 10 times out of 10, you're going to become funnier.
Yeah.
You are actually going to become funny because you're working at it. You're always saying jokes. This landed better. I said this joke, and you're going to go learning because you think you're funny. But if you think you're not funny, and you're like, I'm so not funny. Like anytime I say a joke, it's just like crickets. It's bad. I stay away from the jokes, right? If I believe that, if I take on that identity, will I ever get better at
Nope.
being fun? No, of course not.
Nope.
Right? So it's about that. And even if it's quote unquote true about you or not, that's kind of all relative. It's what's going to be true is whatever I want to be true. I'm just going to plug in this identity into myself and believe this about myself and do this. So if I believe, I'm a really good person, or I believe I'm a monster, or I can plug that in and live off of that belief system, and everything I do is going to be based on that on that kind of decision. That's the kind of person I am. I'm the kind of person that people want to be around because I'm very positive, right? So I'm gonna make that true. I'm not gonna be thinking about negative things because in my mind I'm already thinking I'm a super positive person. So it's about changing those beliefs, and it's about making a conscious decision. See, what do I believe about myself? What do I believe about myself that I didn't really decide to believe about myself? And maybe someone put that there. I don't know where the heck I got that idea from.
Yeah.
And I can take that away and deciding what do I want to believe about myself, and taking that and putting that in. If you can do that work, you can literally almost be reborn, right?
Wow.
In your potential of who you are. That you can end up being this average person that maybe if you just continue living the same life, sure, you could be a little bit of a better parent, right? Or you could take identities from people who had awesome parents and what are the things that they believe and what are they read books. We have access to all this information now, right? Read books. What is it that they believe that makes it so different? You know what? I'm going to take on that identity. And now I'm not just going to be a little bit of a parent. I'm going to be an exponentially better parent, right? Because I can simply just plug in those belief systems into my life. And it's not a lie. People feel like it's a lie, but all this stuff is just, who knows what's true? What these people say, you're going to be amount to nothing. Some shit. Who knows if that's true or not?
And it doesn't even matter too, because we believe so many lies about ourselves anyway.
Yeah. So
it's perception is reality.
Yes.
So because people can look at you and be like, Alan is the most kind, awesome, creative person I've ever met. And then you go home and you think you're a piece of garbage.
Yeah.
In your mind, you're a piece of garbage.
Absolutely.
Even though everybody looks at you and they're like, this dude is amazing. You know what I'm saying?
And the same way people can think negatively about you, and it's up to you if you want to accept that or not. I've learned that to care a lot less about what the conclusion people come up with.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that that I don't try to, have a positive impact on people.
Yeah.
But what I do is I do from my part to have whatever positive impact, do whatever action I can do. From there, I absolutely let it go. So if at the end of that, you believe I'm a bad person for that, or you believe I'm a good person for that, I have zero control over, right? So I can't get caught up on that part. People say, oh, well, maybe they didn't understand. I cannot control that because I have done, and I'm sure everybody has seen this, well, you do the exact same thing to somebody and you do it to someone else, and one person takes it one way, really positive, another person takes it really negative. And there was nothing that you did differently. So once you see that, you're like, Or sometimes you've seen the other way around where someone tries to do something nice to you and you thought that was, shady, or they were trying like, what do you mean by that? Are you trying to be something sly? Like, what are you doing? And it's like, wow. And then you realize I kind of took that the wrong way. This person was genuinely being nice to me. Like I've had that happen, right? Where I'll think like, what is this person trying to do? They're trying to fake something. And out there I'm like, oh no, it turns out they're actually a really nice person. Yeah. So that person had no control of what I was thinking. But if they were caught up on what I was thinking, that they're not a nice guy, maybe they would stop being nice. They would stop doing that because they'll be like, oh no, Alan thought I was a mean guy because of that. And then they're changing. So you mess everything up. So you have to stop that. Don't worry about what other people think, because there are going to be people who are going to think you're a nice person or understand your intention. There are going to be people who don't. Yeah. So leave that out there. And then you do the work to be the person that you want to be.
Yeah, man. This is such great wisdom too, man, because if you think about it, it's really being transformed by the renewal of your mind.
Yes.
You're literally renewing your mind.
100%.
And then you take that and you apply scripture to it, and you really just like, who does God say I am?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Because God has literally taken things that I believed about myself and reframed them, and I'm like, whoa, you know, because The whole reframing thing is so powerful,
yeah.
man, because if you think about it, going back to what you were saying about the 13-year-old you,
Yes.
you were thinking like a leader.
Right.
What 13-year-old is thinking like that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Not your typical 13-year-old.
Yeah.
You already had the leadership entrepreneurial mindset now.
Mm-hmm.
That was there already.
Right.
The outcome of that mindset was what was up to chance.
Mm-hmm.
Was it the one that went down entrepreneurial, quote unquote,
Right.
path of crime?
Right.
Or the one that you ended up with?
Right. Right.
With the family you ended up with the wife you ended up with,
Yeah.
the everything.
Yeah.
Isn't that insane?
And I wouldn't have been there if it wasn't for God having pulled me out at that early age and literally giving me a different story and saying, no, this is what I believe about you, right? You think this is the only way, I have a different way.
Yep.
And trusting in God to follow him through that. And, thank God since, around like 13, 14 years old when I came to Christ, I haven't looked back since then because of that. Like, I am just so grateful. I know where I would be if not for God having renewed my mind, literally taking things that I thought I didn't have an option about. That's what it is. Like, if you think, oh no, Eric, but is that I wish I could change this, but it's just that I'm like that. Those areas that you think you don't have an option about. There's literally no option. This is how I am. Those are the things that God will uproot and put something new. And that's what it truly means when the word is telling you by the renewing of your mind. It's powerful.
It's crazy.
You will literally be another person. You're literally reborn.
I'll say that's a great place for us to wrap up. But I know we have many pending conversations on the podcast. I've told people, there's been some people who I've told, like, we need to have you on for a second episode. I'm gonna go ahead and tell you this is the first time I'm saying this. I'm gonna have to have you on for a third episode. So the second episode is already implied. But bro, I was really blessed by this conversation personally. So I think that many people will be blessed by it as well. I'd love for you to just share really quickly how people can connect with you if they'd like to reach out and talk to you.
Yeah. You can, Instagram is just my last name, Depena, Depena. Facebook, it's Alan Depena. You can find me there. I believe alandepena.com is still up and running. Haven't checked that out in a while. But that might be, I think that's links to all my social medias and stuff like that. So you can find me there. Nice,
bro. Listen, bro, just thank you so much for sharing all of your heart and wisdom today, bro. Like I said, third episode has to happen. And definitely my next thing is reaching out to Naomi because she has to come on. I'm excited for that.
Yeah, she's way more wiser than I am. So it's
I feel the same way about Joanna. Any final thoughts you want to share before we wrap up?
I think it's just to get over, if you feel that belief that you cannot change something about yourself, is realizing that you can. And the first step is to be intentional. Get a good mentor that can see that potential in you, and lean into that. Lean into the word of God, lean into your prayer life, and you will be transformed.
Well, guys, you guys heard it directly from Alan's mouth himself. Make sure that you are intentional about the decisions that you are making right now. And I believe that God might be ministering to some of you guys specific things that you believe about yourself or people told you that you can reframe. And I want to encourage you to take some time after this episode to do that. Don't go directly into the next thing. I want you to just take a moment, slow down in this fast-paced life that we live, and think through this, because there's a lot of value in reframing the person that you are, because it literally could change the trajectory of the rest of your life. So I'd encourage all of you guys to do that. And listen, I want to thank you for being here for today's episode. And if you're still here at this point, YouTube is putting up a video that it thinks you will enjoy as well. So check that out as well. Make sure that you leave a like and subscribe as well. We will see you guys in the next one. Peace.